Welcome to Oddball. I'm Charlotte Wilder. That's Amin Elhassan.
Yeah.
And we are both in New York City, which is very exciting.
Have you ever thought, like, why do we have this table? We're not allowed to have anything on this table. So then, like, why do we have a table at all? Why wouldn't we just clear it out? I guess sometimes you get your laptop up there.
I have my computer.
Yeah, sometimes.
Like when we do trivia tomorrow. But,
all right.
You know, it's a rousing way to start off the show.
Yeah.
I mean, so last week was Thanksgiving.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, allegedly. So I'm told. And Thanksgiving, I think for some families was probably filled with some awkward conversations, given the climate of this beautiful nation. And so we thought, what better way to re-enter the week after Thanksgiving and start off the holiday season than by having some difficult conversations about the National Basketball Association.
Is Acho going to come in now? Like, let me explain.
Yeah. No, I can't make jokes about that. So Cavs Celtics, I mean.
Yes. It was a little awkward. Huh? How about that? You know what makes it awkward? Not just that the Celtics were up double digits in the second half and blew it.
Right.
That's not awkward at all.
No.
The awkward part, as I'm watching that game, Charlotte, I'm like, didn't Charlotte say the Cavs are going to be a play-in team?
Sorry. What? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry, I couldn't hear you over my horrific preseason take. Hear me out. When I said that, I also said the Cavs, I acknowledged that they had been in fourth in the East.
Yes.
Right?
You acknowledge a fact.
So to me, I was taking a flyer being like, I was wrong. I was just straight up wrong. Did you see this coming?
Not this, but I thought they'd be good. I thought they'd be better than they were last year. This is going to be I just looked at the rundown real quick and I'm like, oh, wow, this kind of wasn't supposed to be a victory lap, but wow, I think this A block is going to be like one big victory lap for Amin.
Why?
Just as I just look, I'm not trying to be a soothsayer or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, as I look through this rundown, I'm like, yeah, man, a lot of these are like things that I didn't kind of see coming, but kind of did say, like, hey, I think they'll be better. So, look, Donovan Mitchell has been incredible, right? Last night he didn't miss a shot in the fourth quarter, right? To start the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And he is now creeping up the MVP leaderboard a little bit.
He's in eighth in MVP odds on DraftKings at plus 2,800. But the real conversation I want to have, the real awkward conversation to distract from my horrific take that the Cavs are going to be in the play-in tournament, which also could still come true. I'm just saying.
No, look, there's a lot of season left. You're right.
A lot of season left. It's
right.
It's December, 2nd?
December or something.
So there you go.
December
It's early December. I think the real awkward conversation we need to have is, are the Hawks, by transit property, the best team in the Eastern Conference?
Because they beat the Celtics in Boston. They beat the Cavs both in Cleveland and in Atlanta over Thanksgiving weekend, right?
Yes.
Or whatever, Thanksgiving break.
And they beat the Celtics without Trae Young and I believe without DeJounte Murray. Is that correct? Oh, he's not on the team anymore.
There, yes.
So exactly. So I'm right.
Everything they've done has been without DeJounte Murray.
Who else was out? Who was out that game?
They didn't also have Jokic. Jokic is not playing for Atlanta either.
They did this without LeBron James. Yeah. No, I just think it's sort of funny that there's this team, the Hawks, who are not.
You know what infuriates me?
What?
Is that this team that went to Boston and beat the champs and went to Cleveland, the best team in the league, and beat them twice and all that stuff. They lost to the Wizards, not once, but twice.
What's happening?
Representing 100% of Washington's wins this year. The most unserious team in basketball has 2 wins. They're both against the Hawks.
Okay, so by transitive property, are the Wizards actually the best team in the East? Like, what's happening?
So this is my favorite thing over the break. One of the things that happened was Chauncey Billups, or in the last week or so, Chauncey Billups said, like, after a tough loss, it's like, if you can sleep after a loss like this, you're a loser. Like, you shouldn't be able to sleep. And I can't sleep over the fact that Washington Wizards beat the Hawks twice.
Well, that means
if I'm Trae Young,
yeah.
I'd have insomnia. I'd just be walking around a zombie. And like anything, like I could get married, the birth of my first child, I could win Powerball. Oh my God, now I'm a rich person's even richer. I got all these amazing things. I could find a cure to cancer. I could find out what really happened to Amelia Earhart. I could find out who killed JFK. And I still would be like, we lost to the Wizards twice.
Was it
How?
Lee Harvey Oswald or
JFK?
Yeah.
No. This one.
Okay.
Let's move along.
Let's keep going.
You don't want an awkward conversation. Oh my gosh. Yes, Lee Harvey Oswald.
Okay. All right. We're not doing this. One thing I do want to say, and relatively seriously, is I like the Cavs-Celtics rivalry.
You do?
Yeah. If this is a thing that continues through the season, I really like, first of all, I think they're very fun to watch, these games against each other. Yeah. I mean, unless you're me and you're a Celtics fan, you just keep watching them blow massive leads at certain points in the game. But Donovan Mitchell was electric at the end of that game. And I also think that when I love a big market against a small market, I love the David versus Goliath, where then everyone...
Is it a big market?
Yeah.
Yes. You know, I'm from New York City, so, you know, it looks like a little suburb up there.
All right,
but,
whatever.
You know, it's quaint.
Also, something I think we have to talk about is that the laws of physics should not cease to exist at the end of a basketball game. Like, time shouldn't stop with 34 seconds left on the clock, because for Cavs Celtics, it took 17 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
For the end of that game.
All right. So, yes, this is, you know, when people say, "Oh, I hate NBA basketball," this is what they hate. This is when they're like, that happens, and you're like, I don't have a rebuttal.
I have no argument.
Yeah, you got me there. You got me. You know, it's funny. I was at Suns Warriors, and the start of the fourth quarter took something like 15 minutes. Because there was like an accounting error in the third quarter, and the Warriors are actually over the limit, but the Suns never got their free throws. So they're trying to figure out how to handle it, and eventually they're like, start the fourth quarter with the Suns shooting 2 free throws with nobody on the lane lines, which is weird, and I've never seen that before. And also, hey, it would help Suns Arena if you explained it to the people inside the building. Yeah. There was silence, and then we're like, Suns 2 free throws. I'm like, what? What happened?
It's also wild that it took them that long to decide on Suns 2 free throws.
I mean,
you gotta just make a decision here.
I feel like they had like one of those Socratic method discussions about like, what is the meaning of foul trouble?
The referees in Secaucus sitting on a bunch of marble steps, being like, and what would you do?
Adam with the toga on, like just
how it feels.
Sermonizing.
An awkward conversation about the Rockets. I mean, they beat the Thunder.
Yes, they did.
119 to 116 in Houston, thanks to a 3-point explosion from Fred VanVleet. I have a soft spot for Fred VanVleet. Like, I don't know him. I've just always really, I respect Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, look, anyone who does the half-baked you at the end of the game to the refs, he's got to be a cool guy, right?
You know? Yeah. It's pretty good. Dylan Brooks hit the go-ahead bucket over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, his Team Canada teammate. And there was this moment, where they were wrestling over the ball, SGA and Dylan Brooks. And like, it's Dylan Brooks. And Shai is a slender.
Yes.
Dylan Brooks is like,
husky.
Yeah, exactly. And he's ripping the ball away from SGA, but SGA is still holding on. We can't show this footage. Sorry, everybody.
All right, one day.
And he's still holding on. And he's just like whipping him around the court, and they both fall down, and it gets pretty violent. And then they get separated by their teammates. And SGA and Dylan Brooks both start laughing.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen that before. I mean, personally, that's sort of how if I ever got into a fight on an NBA court, I would probably be like, I would feel so silly afterwards that I would start laughing.
Well, I think it's because it's your friend. You know that, you know exactly. Like, it's one of those things like, I know what you're doing, and I know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And yet we're still doing this. And so I like it. I like the idea that we're not so self-absorbed.
Yeah.
That we aren't aware of what's happening and who the characters at play are.
Totally.
I feel like if I were an NBA player, I would get into a lot of fights and then immediately like joke about it. There was, this is so far off tangent. There was a play years and years ago. It was Mo Peterson and Vince Carter, I want to say.
Okay.
And Mo Pete and Vince Carter slap each other. Like it was like, for someone who didn't know, it might have, for the ref who didn't know, he teed up Mo Peterson because he retaliated with a slap back. And Mo Peterson was like, no, ask him. Like, we're just messing around. Like, it's just me and my buddy, like my former teammate. And like the ref's not trying to hear it. And Vince is just laughing in the corner. And Mo's like, tell him. And Vince was like, It was one of those things. Like, I feel like that would happen to me a lot. I'd be the guy who's like, oh, man. No, come on, man.
It's a little bit like actors breaking.
Yes.
Because everybody's acting to a certain extent when you're playing professional sports because everybody knows each other. There's not acting, you get into the heat of the moment. They're very competitive, but those moments really pull back the curtain, and that's
Speaking of pulling back the curtain, let's pull back the curtain on those Rockets. Number 2 in defense, Charlotte.
Crazy.
Now only behind the aforementioned Thunder, who they beat.
So is the awkward conversation that the West standings when we started the season, I don't think these are what most people would have had.
Okay.
Thunder 1.
Yeah, I had that.
Rockets 2.
I didn't have them that high, but I did think the Rockets would be better.
Grizzlies, I had pretty high.
I was high on the Grizzlies. I told everybody, watch out. They're coming with a chip on their shoulder.
I was not as high on the Golden State Warriors as you were.
I told you all about the Warriors, too. I told you this is going to be a victory lap. I told you about the Warriors. Look, they got all those vets, the things that they were missing. By the way, the Anthony Melton torn ACL. That sucks for them. Yeah,
that's awful.
Yeah, that's awful.
5, we have the Mavs.
That's about
which is where they were
them.
last year.
Yeah.
So that's Lakers.
Lakers at 6. That's new. That one's fresh.
That one's fresh.
I didn't think that they would be this good, but also we've got like 60 games to go. So
right. So now he's hedging. Now he's adding more games.
I'm just saying, like, don't worry. Clippers. I was one of the people like, look, man. I see what they did. I kind of understand it. And say what you will about James Harden. Say what you will about James Harden. Well, then we'll say what we will about James Harden a little bit, but like, whatever. Yeah. Right. Suns, injuries. When they were healthy, they were good. I think that they're going to go up. Nuggets, injuries. Now that they're healthy, I think they'll be fine. Spurs, this is around where I thought.
Okay.
8, 9, 10. Okay. I thought they would make a leap.
Yeah.
T-Wolves at 11.
Let's
sit on the T-Wolves for a second.
Is that the most surprising to you? Because under the only team below them is the Kings.
Yeah, that's
which is also surprising. I think the bottom of the West is the most shocking part of this whole situation.
T-Wolves at 11 that is kind of dastardly. And over the weekend or whatever, what do you call it? I don't know. The Thanksgiving break.
Sure.
They had a really bad loss to, I want to say, Sacramento.
It was, yes.
And Anthony Edwards was sitting in his locker, and he like, I can't find the footage, but I know I heard it, where he starts the media availability in his locker with, "What did y'all want to ask me? Why we suck?"
The reason that he might be asking people why they want to ask him why they suck is that the Timberwolves are 3-7 in their last 10 games. Yeah. They are 13th in defensive rating over that stretch, and they had the best defensive rating in the league last season, which is wild because what they did here was trade Karl Anthony Towns for Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. Cat is not like known for his defensive prowess.
No.
So it's other stuff that is falling.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's other stuff that's also falling apart. And you mentioned that press conference. Here's the part that people are taking. It wasn't a press conference. It was Ant sitting in his locker. But here's what most people are focusing on, what Ant said.
Identity right now, me and Mike was talking about, I think we soft as hell, like as a team. Internally. Like, you know what I mean? Like not to the other team, but like internally, like we soft. Like we can't talk to each other. Just a bunch of little kids. Just like we playing with a bunch of little kids, like everybody, like the whole team.
Something he also said, Amin, that you were saying before we started filming was that we need to listen to the coaches.
Dude, it's like
so little kids saying little kids, and then we need to listen to the coaches. It's like, what happened?
It's 6 minutes roughly of him sitting at the locker room, and it's in his locker, and it's poignant stuff.
Yeah,
like very, very open and vulnerable, and not shirking responsibility. He lumps himself within all that. And I'm like, man, this dude's a leader for real, man. Like it's one of those cool things. But like, what he's essentially getting at is like, what's our identity?
Right.
We used to be a team that was defense is our calling card. That's what we hang our
Rudy
hat
Gobert,
on.
Defensive Player of the Year, like over and over.
Well, and beyond that, like they were like excellent defensively. You talk about Ant, you talk about McDaniels, you talk about Naz Reid. Like all of these guys are excellent defensive players, and they had an excellent team defense. And the funny thing is, you look at it, he said 13th over that stretch, which to some teams like, well, that doesn't sound so bad. And they're 9th, they're top 10 in the league in defense. And you're like, okay, what's the big deal? Like the big deal is we were 1.
Right.
We were 1, and now we're not.
Right. So my question to you, 2 questions. One, obviously, we knew they traded Cat for money. They had to. They couldn't afford to keep him.
For money purposes. You sound like, here's a bag of money for your cat, your bodega cat.
No. Which might have been helpful, but instead they had Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and we were like, well, that's not probably going to be the thing that makes that up. So did they lose their identity when they lost Cat? Was that buddy comedy that Ant and Cat had going on the real friends we made along the way? And also, you and David Aldridge last week on Oddball, we were talking about Ant, and you said that the league is going to turn on him, or you hope they keep letting him be himself.
Yeah. So
is this something that's acceptable to them? I thought it was a masterclass in.
He's still like, look, they didn't take his words and twist it into like, he's saying, oh, y'all are soft or whatever, which could easily have happened. So that heel turn hasn't happened, and it's crazy. I'm not talking about him doing a heel turn. I'm talking about literally basketball society doing a heel turn on him. Right. Because he's consistently been who he is. Right. And I think that's swell. That's the word, right?
Swell.
But the idea is, how much more of this will we tolerate? And it goes back to what we talked about last week, expectations, right? So right now they're in 11th. That's not good. No. Not cool. But again, 60 games remaining. They've got a lot of time to get it turned around. But if we end the season with them not in the play-in, like the heel turn is coming very quickly for young Mr. Edwards.
It won't be the rest of the team let him down, or...
Man, we don't have a history of being gracious towards our superstars in that way. This is a superstar business. Yeah. When you win, you get all the credit. When you lose, it's like, be better.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of be better, the Clippets are Clippets. The Clippets.
That's what they changed their name to.
The Clippers are being better. They beat the Nuggets 126-122. Harden was 39, 9, and 11. He joined Steph as the only players in NBA history. Oh my God, I can't talk
NBA history.
With 3,000 3-point with 3,000 3-pointers made. Yeah. So did we forget that that Harden is in the Jokic Steph category of just makes everybody around him better?
Again, y'all forgot. I was the one saying, look, man, if you have James Harden, like we can ridicule him all we want for him saying I am a system, but dude, we have
He is the system.
We have a lot of NBA evidence that, hey, James Harden and 4 dudes, is it enough to be a decent NBA team?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're going to win a championship or even compete or go to the conference finals. I'm just saying, like, they're going to win more games than they lose. And that's what's been happening. And again, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the season. Philadelphia built a parlay where the Clippers built a hedge, right? They hedged because they know their superstar is not around. By the way, apparently his return is imminent.
Kawhi
Leonard, imminent return.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I mean,
I would like to.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. Like at this point, like fool me 700 times.
I know.
I just don't care anymore. Just play.
Yeah.
Just play. I don't need Patrick Beverley to give me like, oh, when Kawhi said the league is terrible or whatever. Like, okay, that's nice. Like, I'm not a person who puts the blame on people for being hurt.
Right.
Like, injuries suck. A lot of my favorite players of all time were guys who had their injuries cut short. I feel for them. I feel for anybody who's got to deal with that because it is a long, lonely process of rehabbing. Having said that, Kawhi, respectfully, shut the up. Just go play. No one wants to hear anything, your opinions about anything. Not like we ever got it.
Right. Is he talking?
Well, I mean, he talked through Patrick Beverley. He said the league is trash. Right. So I'm like, I don't care about your opinion. Like, it sucks what's happening to you. I hope you get healthy. I hope you come back and play and you're awesome. But Your opinion on what the league is or isn't? Irrelevant to me.
All right. Well, before we go, a fan at the wall that the Clippers have, which
Another
is
brick in the wall.
that whole,
the Clippers. Yeah,
it's tech. It's technology that the
Is
Clippers
it?
have.
Or just seats?
A fan wore a horse mask.
Yeah?
When the Clippers played the Nuggets.
No way.
When Jokic,
we got a picture.
Yeah, there's a horse mask, and he's holding up a sign that says, "Dad, I miss you." Jokic's horse finally made it to a game, and you know what? Jokic probably said, "I miss you too, son."
Let's have an awkward conversation about billionaires building their own damn stadiums without public money.
It turns out it's good.
That's awesome. I'm with
billionaire. Look,
build your own
billionaires
stadium.
Bad. Billionaires building stadiums with their own money. Good.
Yes. Don't use taxpayer money.
No. And when we come back, hot streak.
Can we use billionaire money for that?
No.
Oh.
Welcome back to Oddball. I mean, it's time for hot streak. Last week, oh God, this is so embarrassing. Last week, we picked the Timberwolves to cover against the Rocket.
Did they?
In their NBA Cup matchup. No. They came all the way back from being down 18 to get the game into overtime. But then in overtime, they lost.
They still managed
117 to 11. 111. Wow. Yeah.
How about that?
So let's get a streak going this week. And by streak, I mean, let's just get one godforsaken bet right.
Yeah.
So here are potential bets.
Okay.
We can do Spurs plus 6.5 at Suns for minus 110. We can do Suns minus 6.5 against the Spurs for minus 110. Or we can do Thunder minus 14 against the Jazz for minus, you guessed it, 110.
Okay, so like, all right, this is interesting, right?
Okay, talk me through it.
All right, so you think to yourself, like, Thunder, I know the Thunder are great and the Jazz have been not so great, but the Jazz have been competitive. Yeah. Like 14.5 seems excessive. Why would the spread be that big? Here's the problem. This is NBA Cup play, right? So this isn't a regular, pardon me, it's not a regular season game.
Right.
It's not a regular season game. It's a cup game. And so
it's not a regular season game. It's cool, Mom.
Yes, exactly. It wears their hat backwards.
Yeah.
So like the top 3 teams in the group are all 2-1, and they're very, very close in point differential, right? The Suns are plus 19, the Thunder are plus 18, the Spurs are plus 14. They're all 2-1 in cup play. So the de facto winner of this group is very up for grabs, right? Very much up for grabs. The Spurs and the Suns are playing against each other, so we know that's going to be like a heated game, right? There's a lot of stakes there. The Thunder are playing against a Jazz team that is eliminated from cup play. They have no chance of going to Vegas. But also, the Thunder know, hey, there's a big chance that at the end of the night, well, not a big chance, there's a big chance at the end of the night, if we're 3-1, there's another team that's going to be 3-1.
And then it comes down to point differential.
So they have every incentive to blow the ever-living out of Utah, not just because they're better, but because they know the point differential is going to be the determining factor on who wins the group. And remember, winning the group gets you better seeding than coming in as a wild card. You don't want to enter wild card territory because you don't know what's happening in other groups.
Right.
So it's like all the stars and the moons are aligning for them. All you got to do is blow out one of the worst teams in the NBA.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good bet. Let's do it. Thunder minus 14.5. Because when I saw that, I was like, what are we doing? And then it was like, right. Yes. I do love the point differential because it just makes these cup games, even at the end, you're just like,
you're seeing like
acrobatics.
Guys on the floor. Like, why is he in the, because we're trying to run it up, or we're trying to not let it get run up.
Yes. The last day of qualifying games are on Tuesday, and the NBA Cup tournament starts on December 10th.
Yeah.
Real quick, who's going to win it all, Amin?
The whole NBA Cup? I'm kind of, at this point, I wanted the Pistons. They're undefeated in cup play. Like, who knew? All we needed to do was put this.
Who knew? All we needed were very high stakes or
invent something.
Medium rare stakes.
Yes, exactly.
For the Pistons.
Like, you know what? I'll be not so trash every Tuesday and Friday.
Yeah, sure.
In November and December. And look, I'm excited for one thing.
What?
To get to Vegas.
All right. See you tomorrow. for
In
Trivia
Vegas?
Tuesday.
Oh, not yet.